The silent warning Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UCS Prometheus, watching stars streak past through the viewport. The massive dreadnought cut through space like a blade, its hull gleaming with Earth's most advanced armor. Humanity had spent 30 years building this ship after first venturing beyond their solar system. They called it their crown jewel, though they had no idea how primitive it truly was. The communication console suddenly blazed with urgent signals. Lieutenant Commander James Park, the ship's communications officer, looked up with confusion written across his face. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission on frequencies we've never encountered before. The mathematical patterns suggest artificial intelligence, but the complexity is far beyond anything in our databases." Vasquez moved to the console, her boots echoing in the quiet bridge. The signal was unlike anything Earth had ever detected. Complex harmonics wove together in patterns that seemed almost musical, yet carried vast amounts of data. "Can you decode it?" Park worked furiously at his station, sweat beading on his forehead. "I'm running it through every decryption protocol we have. Wait, there's something here. The signal is adapting to our attempts to understand it. It's learning our language structure in real time." The bridge fell silent, except for the hum of ship systems. Then, impossibly, words began forming on the display in perfect English. The message was simple, but its implications shook Vasquez to her core. "Urgent warning to unknown species. I am High Chancellor Korath of the Zephyrian Star. Empire. Your technology signature indicates a young civilization. You are in grave danger. The Devourers approach. Evacuation protocols must begin immediately. Respond if you value your species' survival." Commander Sarah Mitchell, the ship's tactical officer, checked her sensors. "Captain, I'm detecting a massive energy signature approaching from Galactic North. Whatever sent that signal, it's not alone." The viewport shimmered, and suddenly the Prometheus found itself surrounded by ships that defied human understanding. Crystalline vessels that seemed to be grown rather than built floated alongside the human dreadnought. Their surfaces pulsed with soft light, and they moved with impossible grace despite their enormous size. A new transmission arrived, this time carrying visual data. The image that appeared on the main screen showed a being that was both beautiful and alien. Tall and slender, with skin that shifted between silver and gold, High Chancellor Korath looked at them with eyes that held the weight of millennia. "Greetings, young ones. I am Korath of the Zephyrians. Your species radiates the energy signature of a civilization approximately 3 centuries into space travel. This places you in the category of recently emerged. You have perhaps 50 of your years, before the next harvest begins." Vasquez stepped forward, though she knew the being couldn't see her. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Colonial Ship Prometheus, representing Earth and humanity. What do you mean by harvest?" Korath's expression grew grave. The air around him seemed to darken, and his golden skin dulled to a warning bronze. "The Devourers are ancient beyond your comprehension. They are not biological, not mechanical, but something between. Every 50,000 of your years they sweep through this galaxy, consuming all advanced technology and the civilizations that created it." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Park whispered, 50,000 years? That's longer than recorded human history." "The cycle is eternal," Korath continued. "Civilizations rise, develop space travel, begin to spread among the stars. When their technology reaches a certain threshold, the Devourers sense them and come. They strip worlds of all metal, all energy, all complex matter. Life regresses to primitive levels, and the cycle begins again." Dr. Lisa Chen, the Prometheus's chief science officer, leaned forward. "How do you know all this? How have you survived?" Korath's image smiled sadly. "My people have witnessed 17 complete cycles. We survive by remembering and by running. When the harvest approaches, the elder species retreat to parallel dimensions, pocket universes we have learned to create. We wait until the Devourers finish their work and return to dormancy. Then we emerge and guide the next generation of species." "You just hide?" The words escaped Vasquez before she could stop them. "You let entire civilizations die?" "Young captain, you speak of things beyond. Your understanding. The Devourers are not ships you can fight with weapons. They are a force of nature like gravity or entropy. Resistance is not brave. It is simply extinction with extra steps. The tactical display updated with new information shared by the Zephyrian ships. The Devourers appeared as dark voids in space, consuming light itself. Their forms shifted constantly, part machine, part organism, part something else entirely. Scanner data showed them breaking down matter at the atomic level and rebuilding it into new versions of themselves. How long do we have? Vasquez asked. The advanced scouts have already begun consuming outer rim colonies. Based on their rate of progress, they will reach your homeworld in approximately 47 of your days. I offer you and your crew sanctuary in our dimensional refuge. Your species need not face extinction. The offer hung in the air like a challenge. Around the bridge, Vasquez saw the faces of her crew. These were the best humanity had to offer. Scientists, soldiers, explorers who had volunteered to push the boundaries of human knowledge. She thought of Earth, of the 8 billion people who had no idea their entire species was about to be erased. High Chancellor, how many species have you saved this way? Koreth hesitated. Individuals, yes. Small groups. But entire species. The logistics are difficult. Perhaps a few thousand of your people could be preserved. A few thousand. Vasquez felt something cold settle in her stomach. Out of 8 billion. It is the way of things, Captain. Preservation of knowledge and culture is more important than preservation of every individual. Your species will continue, and perhaps in the next cycle, with our guidance, you will develop the technology to join us in the dimensional refuges. Park was already working at his console, establishing a connection to Earth Command. The quantum communication array could reach home in minutes, but Vasquez wondered what message she could possibly send. How do you tell an entire world that their existence was about to end? Captain, Dr. Chen said quietly. I'm analyzing the data they've shared about the Devourers. There's something strange here. Look at these energy readings. The scientific data flowed across Chen's display. She highlighted specific patterns, her excitement growing despite the dire circumstances. Captain, the Devourers' technology operates on quantum principles we barely understand, but they seem to have a critical vulnerability. Their matter conversion process requires maintaining quantum coherence across vast distances. If that coherence were disrupted, they would lose the ability to break down matter efficiently. Vasquez finished. How do we disrupt quantum coherence? On that scale? We don't. Not with our current technology, but... Chen paused, her mind racing. Captain, what if we don't need to match their technology? What if we just need to be unpredictable? Koreth's image had been listening to their conversation. His skin had shifted to a deep purple, a color that somehow conveyed deep concern. Young ones, I have heard such hopes before. 17 times I have watched promising species discover what they believe to be weaknesses in the Devourers. 17 times I have watched those species become memories. Vasquez looked at her crew, then back at the alien Chancellor. Hi, Chancellor, with respect, I don't think you understand humans very well. I understand that you are carbon-based life forms with average lifespans of less than 1 century. I understand that your technology is approximately 50,000 years behind the Devourer's capabilities. I understand that your largest ship, he gestured toward the Prometheus, masses less than our smallest scout vessel. All true, Vasquez agreed, but you're missing something important. Humans don't fight battles we can win. We fight battles that need to be won. The communication channel crackled as Earth Command responded to Park's transmission. Admiral Rodriguez's weathered face appeared. On the screen, his expression grim. Captain Vasquez, we've received your report. The Security Council has met in emergency session. President Kumar has authorized Protocol 7. Vasquez felt her blood turn to ice. Protocol 7 meant total mobilization. Every human ship, every weapon, every resource would be committed to a single battle. It was the plan they'd developed for facing extinction-level threats, never believing they'd actually need to use it. Admiral, the Zephyrians are offering to evacuate some of our people. Perhaps we should... Captain. Rodriguez's voice cut through her words like steel. The vote was unanimous. If humanity is going to die, we're going to die fighting. Every fleet commander has been given the same orders. Engage the enemy wherever you find them. No retreat, no surrender, no compromise. Korath's image flickered with what might have been admiration. Your species has courage, young captain. But courage, without wisdom, is simply another word for suicide. Maybe, Vasquez replied. But sometimes the impossible only stays impossible until someone decides to ignore that fact. The Zephyrian ships began to withdraw, their crystalline hulls shimmering as they prepared to enter their dimensional refuges. Korath's final message was filled with something that sounded like regret. I am sorry, brave humans. In the next cycle, we will remember your species fondly. As the alien ships vanished into folds in space-time, Vasquez turned to her crew. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the situation. Any crew member who wants to request transfer to the Zephyrian refugees can do so now. No questions asked, no shame involved. The bridge remained silent. Not a single person moved. Mitchell spoke first. Captain, with respect, if you think we're abandoning ship now, you clearly don't know us very well. Dr. Chen was already deep in her calculations. Captain, I need to run some simulations. If we can modify our quantum torpedoes to create resonance cascades, we might be able to disrupt their coherence fields locally. Park was coordinating with Earth's communication networks. Captain, I'm receiving similar responses from every human ship in the fleet. Total compliance with Protocol 7. No one's backing down. Through the viewport, space seemed darker somehow, as if the approaching threat was already consuming the light of distant stars. But on the bridge of the Prometheus, there was only determination. Humanity had been underestimated before by their own predictions of impossibility. They'd learned to fly by ignoring gravity, to explore space by refusing to accept limitations, to build impossible ships by deciding that impossible was just another engineering challenge. The Devourers were coming. They had consumed countless galaxies, defeated every species they'd encountered for millions of years. They were unstoppable, inevitable, eternal. They had never fought humans before. The echo of defiance. The first contact came at the edge of human space, near the mining colonies of the Tau Ceti system. The automated distress beacon from mining station Omega-7 transmitted for exactly 17 seconds before cutting to silence. Captain Vasquez watched the tactical display as red indicators marked the loss of 3 more colonies in rapid succession. Captain, Mitchell reported from her tactical station, long-range sensors are detecting massive gravitational anomalies moving through the Tau Ceti system. Whatever's out there, it's big enough to affect local space-time. Dr. Chen looked up. From her science console, her face pale but determined. Captain, I've completed the quantum torpedo modifications. We can't match their technology, but we can create enough quantum interference to disrupt their matter conversion process temporarily. The Prometheus had been joined by the rest of Earth's deep space fleet. 12 dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers, and over 200 smaller vessels formed humanity's last line of defense. It was an impressive sight by human standards, but Vasquez knew they were facing an enemy that had conquered entire galaxies. All ships, this is Captain Vasquez. Implement formation Delta 7. We're going to make our stand at the asteroid belt. Use the space rocks as cover and try to force them to come at us piecemeal. The reply came from Captain Torres of the UCS Defiance. Elena, we're picking up energy signatures that are off the charts. These things are consuming the asteroids as fast as they approach them. They're not just ships, they're mobile factories. Through the viewport, Vasquez could see them now. The Devourers defied easy description. They looked like massive geometric shapes that constantly shifted and flowed, as if space itself was being folded and twisted around them. Tendrils of dark energy reached out from their hulls, and everything they touched simply ceased to exist. All ships, weapons free. Target, the largest concentration and fire at will. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Railgun slugs, plasma cannons, nuclear missiles, and Chen's modified quantum torpedoes all struck the lead Devourer simultaneously. For a moment, The creature's surface flickered and distorted. Then it continued forward as if nothing had happened. "Captain," Chen called out, excitement in her voice despite their desperate situation. "The quantum torpedoes did register an effect. Look at these readings. We actually disrupted their hull integrity for 2.3 seconds. 2 seconds isn't enough to destroy them." "No, but it's proof they can be hurt." "Captain, what if we don't try to destroy them one at a time? What if we create a cascading quantum field that affects all of them simultaneously?" The tactical display showed more bad news. The Devourers were adapting to human weapons in real time. Their hulls were already showing resistance to the quantum interference. In another few minutes, even Chen's modifications would be useless. "Dr. Chen, whatever you're thinking, think faster. We're losing ships out there." The UCS Vigilant exploded in a ball of superheated plasma as Devourer tendrils wrapped around its hull. The UCS Determination suffered the same fate moments later. Human ships were dying, but they kept fighting, kept firing, kept trying impossible things because impossible was all they had left. "Captain, I have an idea, but you're not going to like it." Chen's voice was steady despite the chaos around them. "If we overload the Prometheus's quantum core and detonate it inside a specific geometric pattern created by the other ships, we can create a galaxy-wide quantum resonance pulse." That sounds like a fancy way of saying suicide mission. The Prometheus would be destroyed, yes, but the pulse would disrupt the quantum coherence of every devourer in this galaxy simultaneously. They'd lose their ability to maintain their advanced technology. Vasquez looked around her bridge. These people had become her family over years of deep space exploration. Park, who told terrible jokes during long shifts. Mitchell, who could calculate firing solutions in her head faster than the computer. Chen, whose curiosity had led them to discover wonders among the stars. "How certain are you that this will work?" 17% chance of complete success. 43% chance of significant damage to their fleet. 40% chance of absolutely nothing happening except our deaths. The cold mathematics of war. Vasquez had studied them at the academy, but facing them in reality was different. Outside, the UCS Marathon was fighting 3 devourers simultaneously, its hull glowing cherry red from the heat of continuous weapons fire. "All ships, this is Captain Vasquez. Form up on the Prometheus. We're going to try something the devourers have never seen before." The human fleet moved into Chen's calculated formation, a complex 3-dimensional pattern that would focus quantum energy at a single point. Each ship took position, knowing they might be signing their own death warrant. "Captain," Park said, quietly, "I'm receiving messages from every ship in the fleet. They all volunteer to take the Prometheus's place. No one wants you to carry this burden alone." Vasquez smiled, feeling proud of her species in a way that transcended the current crisis. "Tell them thank you, but the Prometheus has the most advanced quantum core. If this is going to work, it has to be us." The Devourers seemed to sense something was wrong. Their approach slowed and their forms shifted into defensive configurations. Energy patterns flowed across their hulls as they prepared for whatever the humans were planning. "All ships begin quantum core overload sequence. 30 seconds to cascade initiation." Dr. Chen's hands flew over her controls, fine-tuning the resonance frequency. "Captain, I need to tell you something. Even if this works, even if we stop the Devourers, the pulse will be detectable across the entire galaxy. Every species will know that humans did something no one has ever done before." "Is that supposed to scare me?" "It should. We'll become either the most respected or the most feared species in the galaxy." 20 seconds to cascade. The Prometheus shuddered as its quantum core began overloading. Energy coursed through the ship's superstructure, and the EO lights flickered as systems struggled to contain forces that were never meant to be unleashed. 10 seconds. Vasquez opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez to all ships. It has been an honor serving with you. Tell Earth that we faced the impossible and decided to ignore it." 5 seconds. The Devourers suddenly accelerated as if they finally understood what the humans were attempting. Dark tendrils reached out toward the human ships, but they were too late. "Initiate quantum cascade. The Prometheus exploded in a burst of light that was visible across 3 star systems. But this was not a normal explosion. Quantum energy rippled outward in perfect geometric patterns carried by the formation of human ships. The cascade effect built on itself, growing stronger as it expanded. When the pulse reached the Devourers, their perfect hulls began to flicker. The ancient technology that had dominated galaxies for millions of years started failing. One by one, the massive creatures began to break apart, their quantum coherence shattered by human stubbornness and mathematical precision. The pulse continued expanding, reaching every corner of the galaxy. In distant dimensional refuges, alien species felt the impossible happening. The eternal cycle was breaking. High Chancellor Korath materialized on the bridge of the UCS Defiance, his form shimmering with dimensional energy. Captain Torres stepped back in surprise, but Korath raised a hand in what was clearly a gesture of peace. "I had to see for myself," Korath said, his voice filled with wonder. "In 17 cycles, spanning millions of years, no species has ever chosen to fight the Devourers. Most flee, some hide, a few simply accept extinction with dignity. But you chose to break the laws of possibility themselves." Torres looked around his damaged bridge. Half his crew was injured and his ship was barely holding together, but they were alive. More importantly, Earth was safe. "We're humans, Chancellor. Breaking impossible laws is kind of our thing. The quantum pulse you created will prevent the Devourers from reforming for at least 10,000 years, perhaps permanently. You have given this galaxy something it has never known, a future without fear." Across human space, the surviving ships began reporting their status. Despite terrible losses, including the sacrifice of the Prometheus and her entire crew, humanity had achieved the impossible. They had broken a cycle that predated their evolution by millions of years. On Earth, President Kumar stood before the Global Assembly, struggling to find words for what humanity had accomplished. "Today, we learned that our species is not as young or as weak as we believed. Today, we learned that sometimes the impossible only exists until someone decides to ignore it." In the depths of space, the remnants of the Devourer fleet drifted silent and powerless. For the first time in galactic history, the ancient threat had been not just defeated, but completely neutralized. The quantum pulse had rewritten the fundamental rules that allowed their technology to function. High Chancellor Korath remained on the Defiance as the human fleet regrouped. His people's dimensional refuges were opening, disgorging species that had hidden for thousands of years. All of them wanted to meet the humans who had done the impossible. "Captain Torres," Korath said, his skin now shining with colors that had no human names, "I must ask you something that will determine the future of this galaxy. Your species has proven capable of achieving what we believed was impossible. What will you do with this power?" Torres looked out at the stars, thinking of Elena Vasquez and the crew of the Prometheus. They had given everything to save not just humanity, but every species in the galaxy. "Chancellor, we're going to do what humans have always done. We're going to explore, learn, and help anyone who needs it. And if another impossible threat shows up, we'll figure out how to beat that one too." The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had announced their presence not with conquest or diplomacy, but with sacrifice and innovation. They had looked at an eternal cycle of destruction and decided it was time for something new. The echo of their defiance would ripple through space for millennia, a reminder that sometimes the youngest voice in the room has the most important thing to say. The age of the Devourers was over. The age of humanity had begun.